Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
In a land slowly overtaken by darkness, eyes peer into every nightmare. Tread carefully, take heed and beware, for creatures crawl throughout the night. Secrets of history shall come to light. Internal powers before unknown, choices are made, worlds are shown. Two heroines are faced with a choice to band with friends and unite their voice. Against this evil they must stand. The fate of Krayweth lays in their hands.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, where pop culture gets blasted. And tonight we are talking with comic book creator Krista Crawford, aka Fleur de Villainy, about her book Wolf and I. Such a what is the word I'm looking for? Eloquent statement of like, it's not Wolf and me. It's Wolf and I.
Wolf and I. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about, first of all, who you are and why in the world you're doing comics of all things in this day and age.
Of course. So my name is Krista Crawford. I'm actually a doctorally prepared pediatric nurse practitioner. So my full title is Dr. Crawford, or as my friends refer to me as Dr. de Villainy. And so full time during the day, I help kids. I see them. The good, the bad, and all in and out. I love working with children. And so by trade, I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner, but by passion, I'm an artist. I love to draw, to create, to write stories, and incorporate that in, when I'm working with kids, when I'm by myself. I'm a huge reader, and I've been an avid lover of fantasy for years and years. And so I've taken all of these things that I love and combined them together to create the world of Krayweth, in which Wolf and I takes place.
So almost everybody I've ever talked to who does graphic novels grew up reading the comics in some form or another. Is that true here? And if so, what were you reading? What were the things that formed you into who you are?
So I dabbled a little bit, although I really didn't jump headfirst into comics until I became more of an adult. In my younger years, I was a hardcore novel reader. Big fan of Tolkien. I read a lot of the classics. Definitely loved Harry Potter. So I was more of your book, and all of the stories were in my head, but then I would draw and create all the characters that I would read about in these novels. I would then illustrate, in my own like fan artwork.
So you were illustrating the stuff that you were already reading, or you were illustrating your own characters?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. So when did you finally go into doing a full-fledged graphic novel?
So I jumped in headfirst 2 years ago and produced issue 1 of Wolf and I. I had started writing the book Wolf and I about 8 to 10 years ago, actually. I'd started writing it as these characters just came alive in my head and developed personalities. And the storyline was just kind of developing and I was working through. And so I have probably 200 pages of written text, like ready to be made into a young adult novel. But it was just, as an artist and as a writer, you're your own worst critic. And so I'd read it and I'd be like, oh, I have to change this. Oh, this doesn't make sense. Oh, I don't know about this. I don't know if anybody's going to like it. I don't even know how to publish a book, but I love to write. And so I'd write and more and develop. And then finally I was like, you know what? I have been doing fan art and fantasy art for Comic-Con now for 4 or 5 years, working my way through my doctorate at Comic-Con selling art. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this story and I'm going to get it out there. Even if I put it out one chapter at a time via a comic, like we're going to get it published. And so that's when, 2 years ago, I decided to start drawing my written novel into comic graphic art form.
Okay, so and we were talking before the show here. You actually have an in-house print setup where you can publish books now. So when you say you didn't know how to publish books, is that what sort of drove you guys towards saying we do it ourselves? And in an age of where we have print on demand and where you can just send a PDF out to somebody, you went the hard way of saying, no, we're going to program the machines and feed it in and learn about print files and kerning and all that good stuff.
Oh, it was trial by error, especially coming from 2 completely different backgrounds, from printing and graphic arts. Like I came from the medicine side. My husband came from a logistic navigation side, but I had always done art for a very long time. And I was in the comic scene selling art. And we had a good friend who was, his life, his only profits he made, how he paid his rent, how he bought his food was through his art. And he couldn't get the prints right. Like he'd put orders, they wouldn't be done on time. He'd put orders, they'd be wrong, the wrong quantities, things would be stuck together, and then they wouldn't refund him or reprint them. Or if they did, they weren't done in time for the convention. And so this was me going through school. And I'm like, why don't we get a printer? And then I can print my own art and we can print for him and we can help a friend out and have a really cool printer, And so we did, and it was a lot of, yeah. So it was a trial and error, and definitely a lot of like learning and big curves since we printed for our one friend and had this cool printer so that I would stop ordering my art from out of state and having to wait for it myself. And then that turned into printing for his 2 friends and then their 2 friends. So then we applied for a business license and we were only doing prints at that point. And then we started printing for a local theater company and got into doing banners for them. And then they wanted their booklets done. So then we looked into doing booklets. And then that went into, oh, you do booklets. Can you do comic books? So then it was our journey of how do you print a comic? How do you get a high quality comic that'll come back with a 9.7 or higher grade when you send it in to be graded on a comic? And it's just grown and grown since then. And officially, as of a couple months ago, we can now do trade paperbacks too.
The perfect bounce stuff. So anything from like, what is it, 60 pages minimum to get out away from Saddle Stitch?
Yeah, up until depending on the interiors, pretty thick. I think we can go up to like 2.5, 3 inches.
Okay, I'm going to scan every page of my new Teen Titans collection and just send it to you for an omnibus, if that's okay. Just to get. It's probably a legality thing.
Probably a legality thing. Yeah, we mostly
won't
work
tell anybody.
With indie creators. We work with helping a lot of people. My biggest thing is, as an artist, I wanted that step to help my dreams become a reality. I wanted to take what was in here and digitally and physically on my, my sketches and my digital art and make it be available for the public, be able to share the story of Wolf and I, the story behind Violet and Sophia, and I wanted to be able to help other creators get to that point too.
Yeah. And you've gotten very busy, I guess, because there's a lot of crowdfunding going on now with comics. And
yes,
and I need to get your information because, we do distribution and people ask me all the time, hey, do you work with any printers? Who's a good printer? I'm like, I get boxes from Mix and they look okay, but,
yeah.
But, if there are people want to do something else. And when you say, you didn't have to send out of state, we got people who are sending out of country.
Yes,
to keep
and we
things
do ship
moving.
out of country. We have definitely shipped to Australia. We've shipped to Canada. We've shipped to Mexico. Some
Oh yeah,
like
but
big
I mean, they
orders.
send their print files out of country to have them
Oh
shipped
yes.
back because
Ooh.
they're looking for printers and they get printers in China. Guess what? They're
Yeah.
all on boats, and you're not going to be distributing those books on time.
No, and that is the one thing I'm really excited about with Wolf and I is everything being done in the book. If it's not being done in house, it's being done in the United States, with the exception of the pins, which have already shipped to me. They're being air flown in by FedEx, so they will be here. They will not be stuck on a boat.
Good deal. So
And I
I guess
pre-ordered those in advance too. So
excellent. We'll see those pins in just a moment here. So this is the Kickstarter page for Wolf
Mhm.
and I, Tides of Truth. This is what, the 17th issue. No, I don't know how far.
The third issue.
Third
So
third issue.
each of my issues of the comic have their own like unique title. The first issue was self-titled as Wolf and I. And then you had it you have Tides of Truth issue 3. Um, and then so it just kind of as a way, bringing it back to tying into the um, reference to your typical written book, how every book that you read has chapters and has self-titled
Yeah.
chapters. Issue 1 is Wolf and I, issue 2 Magic Rising, issue 3 Tides of Truth. It kind of gives a little foreshadowing into what to expect with the what's going to come in this story. What are you getting out of these quality, the story and the pictures and the artwork, who you're going to meet, what is kind of going on.
Okay, so walk us through the primer version of what the overall story is about. I mean, I see two ladies here. I'm assuming one's a wolf. I don't know. I could be wrong because I've seen another cover where there's a guy walking away from the wolf image. I'm like, maybe he's the wolf.
Yes. So Wolf and I, and so there's going to be a little bit of not foreshadowing. I guess people watching, there's just a little bit of backstory that you'll get a sneak peek into, that some of it'll be explained in issue 4 this spring, but some of it's explained in issue 1 and in issue 3. So the story of Wolf and I follows two main characters, strong female leads, good role models is kind of my background here. And it is a teen rated novel. So there is some violence, there may be a little romance further on in issues. So not general public, of all ages, but definitely teen and up. So the main characters are Sophia and Violet. Violet is the main character that is focused on at the beginning, and then we kind of introduce Sophia and she becomes more of a main character starting in issue 3. Violet is half fae, so half fairy and half demon wolf shapeshifter. So in issue 1 we explain that
That's 1/4 and 1/4 together. Demon and wolf shapeshifter, or is that a specific kind of demon?
It's a specific type of demon. It's a
Okay.
specific demon can shapeshift into a wolf. And so he kidnaps Violet's mother and steals her away to his land. And she ends up escaping and going to the human realm, where she delivers Violet. And Violet grows up as a human, not knowing anything about her past. Her mother dies when her young. She's always told that her father has died. And so her grandparents, not her real grandparents, but her grandparents raise her, treating her like she's a human. And she meets her best friend, Sophia. They've grown up their entire life together. And they're in college when all of a sudden things start happening. Creatures start popping out of nowhere. Unexplained things start happening. Things are flying. There's magic powers that are manifesting, but they don't understand that it's coming from them or not coming from them, and why somebody's chasing them. And so they're searching for answers of what's going on. And so so that's kind of the buildup in the journey through the first 2 issues. And issue 3 really delves into them being transported into the world of Krayweth, which is where a majority of the story happens. And they're forced to choose between what side they should be on. Should they be on the side, and who they are, and, accepting their destinies of, what they're really capable of, making friendships and helping defeat or helping to prevent the demon wolf shapeshifters from overtaking the land of Krayweth, because Violet's father is still alive and he's trying to kidnap her and bring her onto his side in order to use her powers of the combined shapeshifter and fae together in order to take over the land.
So I see that I'm going to guess that the woman in violet is Violet because
It is.
she's got magic glow balls around her hands here.
Yes.
But it also looks like her companion also is doing a little bit of magic. So
Yes.
she's more than just your average
More than
human
just
as
your
well.
average human. She is a spirit mage, and she comes from a long line of spirit mages. And her mother really didn't want to continue on the family legacy of being a spirit mage, and so she raised Sophia, not knowing that anything about Violet's past. She raised Sophia as a normal human in order to try to tamper down her spirit mage, and when they're transported to Krayweth, it just, with all the magic in the land there that's so much more potent than in the Earth's realm, their powers just came to life. And so they're really forced into this position where it's a life or death situation, and they have to learn to use these powers in a short amount of time.
So because of the title,
Mm-hmm.
when you describe it, I feel like Violet is sort of the main character.
She
because of
is,
the
yeah.
title, I feel like Sophia is the main character because, there's the reference to third person and me.
Mm-hmm.
So what went into the making of the coming up with the title when the story is sort of the other way around?
So the title was such a tricky thing because there were so many things going on, and it was really like, how do I talk about her past and foreshadow to Violet's past before before like anybody knows what she is, and how do I include Sophia, because I didn't want to focus on one single main character. Like, I really wanted to keep it two main characters, focus on their friendship together and these challenges that they face in life and how they overcome it and how they depend on each other and meet other people. So Wolf and I is really more of a internal struggle, but that you'll see and especially build up and grow as the story progresses in future issues, in three different ways. One is between Violet and her father, between choosing herself and, between saving the land of Krayweth or joining the side of her father. Another side of it is, herself being half wolf shifter and Sophia, so the two of them together. And then there's another play as another character, as you can see in Shelby Robertson's cover further down in the Kickstarter. He's our main bad guy wolf. That's the head henchman of her father. And so there's a lot of character play between the two of them and possible, you know, enemies to lovers kind of vibe with it further on down the road.
I gotcha. Pop Van Zant's in the chat. Of course, he's the one who introduced us for the show. He didn't tell me it was supposed to be a Marmalade show, or I just excavated Marmalade's studio from all the boxes that have come in for distribution lately. So Marmalade is itching to get back online, and he's got some things to say. He's not very happy with me that he's been
Yes, he was telling me a little bit about Marmalade when we had our live stream the other day.
Well, if all goes well, Marmalade's got a he's been working on a musical number. And
sweet.
He's been playing his guitar, and he's going to try to record his song, but not live. He wants to make sure he gets it right, and then he'll upload it. I'm looking at the covers here, and when I was looking at the larger version of this one, the textures of the background, did you actually superimpose the images on paper cutout?
No, I didn't. All of the cover for the one that I did is digital.
Okay.
So
because that purple in the background, it definitely looks like it's crinkled purple paper, and then like
yeah, it took a long. I wanted to replicate kind of sand that has like that texture of darkness and light as the hills and valleys. So I did so much. I think I spent like an hour looking at multiple pictures of sand and beaches, and to give it that magical feel of like, not your typical blue water and white sand. I wanted like violet sand, magenta, lavender sand, and I wanted turquoise waters. And so oh gosh, I looked at so many pictures. I tried so many brushes and textures and scrapped. I can't even tell you how much hours. I probably spent more hours working on the sand than I did on anything else.
It's the little things that matter the most.
Mhm.
And
And
on
it's
this cover, we also have a meow.
We do have a meow. So the meow is one of the main characters. She's actually a shapeshifter, but she's on the good side. So it's a part cat, part owl creature, and she shapeshifts into her human form. Her name is Anastasia, and you'll be able to see her in Dutch Dutchin's cover. But she was introduced in issue 1, but not by face. And then issue 2, you actually got to see her, and then she plays a huge role in issue 3.
All right. And so we're just kind of going down the covers here
Yeah.
as the Kickstarter runs. This is April Reina's version of it.
Yes.
Is this Violet
Violet.
again here, but that's not
Yes.
her as the wolf, or is this sort of like
that's just another wolf. That's
another
one
wolf?
of the bad guys. And then
They're
there is
getting
a
along awfully
mermaid.
well for.
Yeah, some of the variant covers are definitely a little deceiving on, kind of like a Red Riding Hood vibe
I was
between,
going to say just that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sort of like a purple hot pants vibe on this one. Red Riding Hood's her good sister.
Right?
And everybody's getting a Steph Wilson cover these days.
Yes.
Everyone loves the art. A little surprised. I'll be honest that a strong female-led book is going to have a Steph Wilson cover.
You know what? I am a supporter of all things art, and I really wanted to challenge Steph beyond his basic, his traditional Stephism. I said, I want a PG-13 cover that's your style and that's cute. And he went above and beyond with this cover. It's definitely Steph Wilson's style, but within PG-13. He captured the mermaid, he captured the meow, he captured our 2 main characters, and there's a background on it. So if you want a step cover, this is like a 6 out of 5.
I have to agree with that one. It's a very good cover. Most artists, they have the little wooden doll that's multi-jointed for like getting poses. Steph has balloon animals. I'm positive.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Trevor Grace. Now this one's a very nice one too. This is another rendition of Violet, and again the enemy wolf. But again, there's that whole
that
almost like they're
enemy
frenemies.
Yes, yeah. It's, and I think, and I really wanted to play on that. Like, are the wolves bad? Are they good? Which side are you going to choose? Does she always wanted to know her parents and grew up without them, or is she going to realize her dad for who he is? And do bad guys change? Are bad guys all bad, or are they just in a bad situation? But Trevor's cover gives me such Scooby-Doo vibes. Every time I see it, I'm like, ooh, yes, it's perfect.
Yeah, well, she's wearing the violet. She's got the red hair. That's Daphne all over.
Yeah,
it's got a little bit of a manga vibe to it as well, with the socks. His
style's
and the skirt.
Just so unique.
Now this, I had to look at this twice before I realized that this was not a cosplay cover.
Yes, Wendy's art is so unique, and that's how all of she actually has her own comic series. In fact, she might have a 2. And all of her art is like that, just that realism. It's almost like Sim, like the video game.
Yeah, I think there's I think there's software you can use to actually create a character and then pose them as you want them and get the camera angles around it. Weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I would not be a bit surprised if after a while you'll start be able to not only have the characters on there, but start using that face app technology where you can just put your own face on there. And, throw it into the middle of the bank, put a gun in your hand and say, look, he just robbed the bank. We're approaching some scary times with the way technology is doing art.
That's for sure.
Alfred Trujillo with the magical cheerleader look here.
Yes. And this is the second cover that Alfred has done. He did a cover for issue 2 for us too. So he is back again at it. A little bit more of a PG-13 cover. His last cover kind of pushed the bounds. But his art is just fantastic. So I'm super excited to have him back again.
You can't tell a comic artist to draw a good-looking lady on a cover. You're like, yep, all right, let me go. Wait, what?
Wait, she's got to have clothes on.
Yeah. Okay, I can paint those. You want like them to actually hang on her a little bit. Oh, so, okay. You have a lot of covers. Do you worry that you have too many covers? Because you hear a lot about alt variant fatigue.
My original plan was to have 3 covers, especially with being a smaller comic and doing fulfillment myself. But it's really hard. Like, I'm so for providing, artists with an income. Like, I love supporting artists just as much as I want them to support my comic. And so being able to be like, yes, I will pay to have you in my book. I want to support you. I want to support your art. I want to help get your name out there. So I have a good variety of well-known artists and newer and upcoming artists to really just help all of them. And surprisingly, some of my newer, not as well-known artist covers are actually doing better than some of my well-known artists.
Well, yeah, I mean, quality speaks for itself, regardless of the
Yes.
signature, and that's one of the things that this movement, this renaissance, whatever it is that we're doing here with crowdfunding the last 3 years, it has unearthed so many talents that were not making it through the I almost said gates. I don't want to say gates, through the doors of the mainstream publishers. And not because one thing or the other, because they can only afford to hire so many.
Yes.
So
it just really gives a platform that people are able to get the exposure. And that's the biggest thing. This is my passion project, like bringing the story to life, drawing the art. I love it. And if I can make money and support more artists by doing it and having new artists on every cover and being able to help that, I don't mind having more variant covers, because it just means that I get to give more exposure to up and coming artists. I get to support my friends and fellow artists that I really enjoy. And I love to see what they can do by taking my characters and drawing it in their own style. Like, it gives me such pleasure to be able to see that.
Yeah, that's what I used to do at conventions when I went back. What decade was that? I don't know. It was actually the previous century. I'm that old now. Wow, how'd that happen? I would go up to artists who were like, known for, this is my character. I draw this character. Who do you want me to draw? Batgirl. Because, it just started that way. I was like, I had Batgirl on the brain at the moment. I was like, you've never drawn Batgirl. Let me see your Batgirl. And before I knew it, I had a body of work.
Yeah.
It's like, is there something in my, I know I saw Yvonne Craig when I was a little kid and it triggered something in me. But I've got this body of work now of Batgirl by people who, that's probably the only time they ever drew her, but it's cool to see her in all those different styles.
Yes.
So same thing, you've got a character that looks a certain way in your head because she's your character. And you give the idea and the description to somebody and you're like, that's not how I see her, but that's definitely her.
That's totally cool. Like, that is so her, but in your own style. And that's what I love. And I love the fact with variant covers, you can break outside of your box of just the main character. So like on issue 1 and issue 2, both of my main covers just had Violet on there. And it was really like disheartening to me because I wanted Sophia to be, I didn't want her to be outed, like, because she is one of the main characters in the book too. And so with the variant covers, I have had artists bring in, Sophia and Violet. I've had people bring in, as you see here, Dutch, who is also the flatter on all the books. He does an amazing job. So if anybody ever needs a flatter, Dutch and just blows me away with his quality.
And this is Anastasia, I'm pointing to my screen like y'all can see it.
Yes, that's Anastasia there.
Anastasia the Meowl.
And then the 9-tailed fox in the background, you guys will have to wait to read issue 3 to find out more about
I was
her.
going to ask if that's what that was. I'm like, is that a 9-tailed fox or is that a wolf in front of like a bunch of bushes?
Nope, it's a 9-tailed fox. She's a spirit mage. You find out about her in issue 3, and Dutch kind of has an inside preview to the book since he does all my flats for me. And the book is completely finished, like ready to print, clearly because he knew everything that's going on in issue 3.
Now, I guess you sort of you have an inside track here because you are doing the printing yourself. When people want to do an alternate cover, they're like, well, I put up this variant cover, but I only sold 3 of them, so I've got to print 20 of them minimum. You don't have that obstacle. So you
No, and
can.
even as a business, we don't make a minimum of 20, 30, 50. We've definitely even had artists print 1, 2, 3 variant covers through our company. We're very supportive of smaller creators. We understand you're not selling hundreds and hundreds. I mean, we'd love it if you sold hundreds and hundreds of each variant, but I
Sure,
get it.
they would
Like
too.
sometimes you sold 2 or 3 of them. And we're very supportive of that.
I definitely have to get you in my Rolodex because I have so many people ask about that kind of thing, and that
Yeah.
would definitely be a selling point.
I mean, we much prefer, don't get me wrong, we much prefer having like 10, 20, 30.
Oh yeah,
Because it is easier, especially, but if the book is set up and it's ready to print, we're very supportive of the smaller creators.
Mike Walters in the chat here. We'll be starting up the mic stand over on his channel in about half an hour. So encourage folks to head on over there when we're done here. Going to be covering one of the stories from criticalblast.com tonight. So that's how he gets me to go over there and become one of the viewers. What story are you covering? I got to see this. Scroll. Okay, so here is the cover. Wow, we have a guy on the cover now.
Yes, this is the first cover I've ever had that actually has the main wolf that appears in issues 1, 2, and 3 before the other wolves start coming in. This is the main henchman. He has not been named yet until issue 4, so I'm not going to reveal that secret tonight. But Shelby Robertson had the distinct pleasure of drawing him for the first time ever on the cover. He has appeared on the cover previously in his wolf form. But this is the first time in his humanoid form.
Let me give you there we go. Oh, look at that. Shiny.
Yeah, so all of the variant covers are going to be printed on high quality metallic foil. And then the original cover will be available on metallic or non-metallic.
All right. So those are saddle stitch books there. So they're running 40 pages, 36 pages?
These guys are 20 pages. So I do have a smaller comic because of it's very high detailed, high quality, full color. And I'm doing it like one chapter at a time. So I wanted to be able to really finish an idea with each book. And then the goal is once we have 5 or 6 comics put out, to come together as a trade paperback.
Yeah, that's an excellent way of doing it. Shelby's character here, his rendition it's very much a 90s image kind of vibe I'm getting off this guy.
Yes, it's
early Michael Turner.
It is inspired by the Spider-Man 1 cover.
Well, there is that too. Yeah, I can see that in the pose.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And okay, so we get. Speaking of just printing, small print runs, there's only 10 of this one.
Yes. That is a special limited edition, limited to 10 bundle. You get the Meowl sticker on gold holofoil, and then the actual cover will be printed on gold holofoil too. And for anybody listening, mid-campaign, we'll be making an announcement on the exact date and time, but I'll be launching one gold copy of every variant cover, but only one as an add-on. So you have to have backed one of the other tiers and you can add it on, but it'll be limited to one.
So if you bought any one of the physical products, you can get the one version of a particular variant that's on gold.
Yes.
Okay. That's a one of a kind issue. That's not everybody does that.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I wanted to I know I've done limited runs and Kickstarter exclusives in the past. And for collectors, like, it's so fun to be able to say, I have the only one of this. And because Wolf and I is like 90% digital, I don't have a lot of like physical, this is the original sketch of issue 1, sure, or this is the original sketch of the cover. And so that's my way of being able to offer like a one of one.
Now, a lot of these covers, especially, the virgin versions of them here without the imprint put across them. Are you doing any of these as prints? Because some of these would really stand out as 11 by 17 or whatever size would be appropriate prints.
Yeah. I am not offering prints. It's never something anybody has asked or been interested in before, but I am offering collectible trading cards and then like smaller prints as a stretch goal.
So like smaller prints, you're talking about like 4 by 6 postcard size.
Yeah. And in the collector's pack, there is like 4x6 prints of each of the covers in the ultimate collector's pack that they'll be able to get.
That would be this one down here where we can see all the covers, as well as a tote bag, a T-shirt, shooting range gallery. No, what is that? That's the sticker.
That's the pin. Yes.
Oh, the pin. So that's that's
the back of it.
Like a cloisonne pin. It's a stick pin. It's got
a stick pin.
You stick it through, and then you put.
So we have 3 stick pins. We have a few leftover wolf pins from issue 1. We have the meow pin, and we just unlocked a stretch goal to allow people to add on a moon stick pin. Very nice. You can put all 3 of them on, one item, and they're designed to look like they belong together. Mm-hmm. So, and there's also a whiskey glass. There is a Glencairn glass, which is a little outside of nature with a teen-rated book, but I am a huge, I love the history behind whiskeys and everything, and I think it's really neat as an adult to have something you can use on a regular basis that is, has a logo of something. I've got superhero cups and Disney mugs, and so this will be my first. And it's just so, unique of an item. Now, this one isn't available yet. We're going to unlock it to the public or to backers at 75 backers. So we're getting there slowly. I think we need 22 more backers until we unlock it. Okay, but it is available. Backer count level. Yes. So I have stretch goal, level stretch goal, and I have backer stretch goal. But it is available in the Ultimate Collector's Kit too. Being released to the public. Yeah. I remember we used to get the... I think we got them at Pizza Hut, but they were the Pepsi glasses with the DC superheroes on them. Yes. God, I've still got a packed away somewhere. I've got a Batman coffee mug, 1966. It's white. It's like milk glass, and it's got a black and white picture of Batman on one side and a black and white different picture of Batman on the other side. I know very little about it except that I've dated it and it's there. So 53 backers. Yeah, you need 22 to get to 75. So we're getting there. We are more than 2/3 of the way there. And plenty of time. I mean, you've only been at this for 4 days. Yep. We are rocking and rolling. We've already hit our goal. We're above our goal. We're hitting stretch goals, and it's super exciting. We've surpassed we're 1 backer away from surpassing what we got on issue 2, a number of backers, and we're already past our pledge goal for issue 2, which is super exciting to see the comic slowly growing and reaching more people. I was just about to ask how this compared to the prior campaigns to see if you were showing growth in dollars and subscribers. With issue 1, we had about 46 subscribers, and we hit a little bit over 1,000. We had a lot of just low tier supporters. Issue 2, we hit just over 2,000. We had 54 subscribers, and so I'm excited to see where issue 3 takes us. So this is I'm trying to. Kickstarter always makes it difficult for me to scroll and look at the cost of things because just drag the button, hover over the gray bar, and then scroll. I do that, and then I scroll too far when I do that. Well, no, just slide your little wheel while you're hovering over the gray bar. Oh, there's a trick to it. Okay. You'd think I would have spent 30 years in IT, which I have, but but I still go to the box because I'm pointing at the box. It's all good. It's habitual. So I have a lot of tiers people can choose from. I have as little as just getting a sticker or just supporting it with as little or as most as you want. I have a basic entry level where you get issue 3. I've got catch-up tiers where people can get issues 1 and 2. If you want a variant cover but you still want issue 2, they're available as add-ons. I have a pin only. I have a sketch cover that artists can buy as a blank sketch cover to do their own cover on. I have a pin only tier, a t-shirt only tier, and then as you go down I have some combo tiers that have built up things together, including a jeweled tier so you can get any variant cover on metallic foil and officially enhanced by Swarovski crystals with a certificate of authenticity. Okay, so you go way beyond a comic book and the usual Hey, you can get a sticker, you can get a button, you can get a t-shirt. Oh, we have Swarovski crystals.
what?
You know, I love, like, that's my favorite thing about Comic-Con is going and being able to buy, you know, a t-shirt from my favorite creator, a pin from my favorite creator, getting like really cool, like something different. And so that's what I really try to focus on. I wanted to appeal to not just your typical everyday comic creator, but people who like to collect stuff, people that want to support but don't necessarily want to get the comic, but they like the logo or and then, you know, and I do it with my marketing too. Right now, we've got a competition going on Twitter that people can heart and retweet their favorite variant cover. And at the end of the campaign, whichever variant cover has the most hearts and tweets, I'm giving extra comps to that artist. So it's not a competition for the people to win extra swag. It's a competition for them to help their artist get more comps to help support the artist grow.
Very cool. I love what I'm seeing with the crowdfunding campaigns where they're starting to interconnect with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you know, hey, you know, if you back my campaign and you
Yes.
back Bill's campaign and you send me the backer number off Bill's campaign, here's a special print that only you can get if you only do these things.
Yes, I've seen that a lot, and I think that's so amazing. I actually teamed up with 2 Kickstarters that recently ended that by backing their campaign, they're actually getting a digital sample of Wolf and I. So one of them that just finished is the Snowpaw, the 19th century Scottish female werewolf fantasy, and then the Celestial Knight. And so it's something that I teamed up with them. So people who backed them are getting the sample, and then people who backed me will be getting a sample as well.
Yeah, I could actually looking at your art and seeing the story. I could see you doing something with Nina de Aberline,
Oh, yes.
with her Sunrise Blossom book. She's out of Italy, and now hers is a little bit more. Well, it's a little bit less than PG. But you know, I've read the book. It was not, you know, Cinemax After Dark or anything like that. It was, you know, just relationships. But you know, wolves and falcons could get along interesting.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, for sure.
now I've got Lady Hawk playing in the back of my head, and you're too young to know that movie. All right. Gosh, why Kickstarter? Because I'll tell you, I tweeted this out earlier today, and not only did I tweet it out, but I tweeted it specifically to people who I knew were like, "Hey, you're a wolf person. This is right up your alley," and they were like, "I love that creator. I love book. I hate Kickstarter."
Oh, I have heard that, and I actually tried to run an Indiegogo last issue because I heard that. I was on 3 or 4 shows, and all the comments said, "No, if you'll come to Indiegogo, I'll definitely back it. I'll definitely pick it up." And I did not get a single backer on
And then they
Indiegogo,
were,
not a single backer, and that was really like disheartening. I don't know why I started with Kickstarter. I think, you know, all my friends were doing Kickstarter. I didn't really know a lot about Indiegogo, and I wanted to go with a well-known site, and I just ran with it. One of my friends with issue 1, I ran it as part Kickstarter does a Make 100 campaign every January, and so they really push creators. Okay, launch a project. You're going to make only 100 of this project, and you know, and then run your Kickstarter. And I was like, well, I'm never going to sell more than 100 comics. I'm a small creator. I've got a little bit of a following. You've got a couple thousand here and there on different social medias. I'm like, but there's no way I'm going to sell over 100 copies of a book. And so that's why I launched it initially on Kickstarter, when a friend was like, hey, you've got your comic, like this is a good avenue for you. And there's people looking at these that are wanting to back a comic that has 100 copies.
Yeah.
And so that's why, and then I just kind of stuck with it because that's what worked for me. And that's where, you know, the people who backed my project were. And I did try to branch out to Indiegogo, like a post Kickstarter. I went to run a second one, and I didn't have anybody that backed it.
Yeah, it's I hate when people say, "Hey, come over here and I'll back it," and then you don't get any support at all. You don't even get the one person who said
it wasn't even one person. Yeah, and that was what, like, if it was one person, 2 people, like three people, like, you know, it'd be worth it to me. But to spend all the time and effort, and it just was like, not a single person. And so that's why I was like, I don't even know if I want to try it again this time, because not a single person
Yeah.
backed it. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, especially, post Kickstarter, because I am planning to, I'm waiting until January to ship everything out. I've heard too many horror stories of people shipping things before Christmas, having the Christmas imps steal things, damage things, break things, magically make them go missing. And it's not a matter of it not being printed and not having the swag. Like, everything will be sitting here waiting to go packaged. But I don't want people to be disappointed ordering it and wanting it for Christmas and having something get delayed or messed up. But I am offering a Christmas card add-on for $1, that people can get a 4x6 postcard that I'm shipping as soon as the Kickstarter ends to anybody who adds it on, that says, it's going to be a custom Christmas print, and it's going to say on the back, like, the adventure is coming January 2022, Wolf and I comic, and then, have their address and stuff. You can find more about it on blah, blah, blah.
Very cool. Well, if you do decide to go to Indiegogo after this one, let us know. We'll do a stream specifically saying it's Indiegogo, back at you, evil bastards.
You like wolves? Come here and back it. No,
yes.
I'm not opposed to trying it again, especially, if we can get the blast out there, if, letting people know. And I think maybe that was one of the things that, the Kickstarter ended and I launched on Indiegogo, but I wasn't pushing it, promoting it and getting out there in the live streams quite as much.
Definitely will impact it.
Yeah.
But you said you do the printing for Kara Nicole. I'm guessing that's her Fire Bitch comic.
All of the things.
All of them. Okay.
All the things.
That one alone can be a full-time job.
Yeah.
But I know that, I asked her, I was like, okay, I'm looking at your calendars on Indiegogo.
Yes.
And now tell me, how did you go from $7,000 to $9,000 to $35,000 over the course of 3 years? And she said what she does is, now that they go to Kickstarter first, and then when she goes to Indiegogo, she rolls all that money over that was on Kickstarter. So it's like, it's up in the sky, and it's like, a project we love. And look, it's 8,050% funded before, in the first minute. Everybody wants to get on that train because, that must be hot. So is that,
and that was super exciting about this Kickstarter. My previous Kickstarters took about 2.5 weeks to fund, and Wolf and I Tides of Truth funded in 6 hours or less.
Oh,
I went to, it was like 90% funded when I was like, I have to go to bed. I'm seeing kids in the morning at 8:00. And my husband texted me. He's like, your Kickstarter funded like 10 minutes after you went to bed.
Oh, geez. You could have said 10 minutes more. But then you wouldn't have been able to go to sleep.
No, then I would have been too excited to sleep.
Exactly. It's a PG sort of a story. So do you have copies laying around the office for, the waiting room?
I do not, and it's PG-13, so that's the other thing too, because there is some violence, especially on issue 3 and further on, that would pull it out of the. So it's like the teen rating according to the comics grading guidelines.
That's sort of out of your patient.
Yeah, because we see birth to 18. The other thing too is with COVID, there's been a lot of regulations. We've had to remove all books, all toys, all fun things, and nobody sits in the waiting room anymore. Like, we have to call, like, they sit in their car when it's their turn. We have them come in and go directly to the room. So unfortunately not, but I'm hoping, in the future that I'll be able to do more, library cons. I have a library con coming up here in Phoenix in January, and then one in Northern Arizona in March. So I'll be able to reach more of that teen and young adult demographic.
Yeah, you'll have 3 books under your belt then. Nice table,
if not 4.
spread.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 books and working on number 4.
Excellent. So you're doing one about every 3 months.
No, now yes, but no. So I launched issue 1 at the beginning of 2020. And then I launched issue 2 at the end of 2020, and that one funded fulfilled that a few months later. There was some delays with COVID and working extra at the hospital. So that one I had to wait a couple of months before I could fulfill it, but it was officially fulfilled. And then I finished issue 3 and waited until it was like 100% ready to go to print. And that's when we launched this time. So you live and learn.
Oh yeah. Every
Nobody
project is different.
expected COVID to hit as you were launching a Kickstarter, and then you'd end up working as a nurse in the ICU 60 plus hours a week and having negative this much energy to draw art.
Yes, exactly. And nobody expected it to hit twice. So
Yes. And continuing and still continuing. I'm like, I'm ready for Comic-Con.
yeah. Can I have some time off from saving lives to go read comics and stuff? Is there
Yes.
anything about this book or this project that we haven't talked about that's coming up that you want to make sure people get the news
Ooh.
about before we wrap things up here?
I think we've covered most of the bases. I'm excited to have this story out. It's my passion project. It's definitely teen rated, but I have had adults who tell me they love it. It really appeals to their, young adult side where they love this fantasy adventure, following these characters, seeing the development, being on their toes, waiting for the next issue to come out as like it ended on a cliffhanger, and excited to see more new characters that are coming out.
All right. Well, with that, Krista, thank you so much for bringing Wolf and I to our channel tonight. I'm not gonna look because I get embarrassed. So replays. It's all in the replays. I keep hearing. Plus, every time I start a show, my phone starts going bzz, 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 bzz. I'm looking at it because Ethan Van Sciver streaming now. Your boy
Yes.
Zach streaming. All these people streaming now. I'm like, really? Yeah, you just waited for me to start. And because if they weren't streaming, they'd all be right here.
Of course. Well, you know what? And everybody's on, different time zones. And then with the daylight savings change here in Arizona, we don't do daylight savings. So when you first told me what time it was, I'm like, oh, nope, can't make it. Like, I'm not going to be off work yet because it was a 3-hour difference. But when you guys switched, we're now only 2 hours apart.
Hi, I would not.
So
I would not have known that. And I always wondered what it's like to live in an area where they don't do daylight savings time, because I'm like, and being the geek that I am,
yeah,
my whole point is like, how does that affect your TV shows?
it's glorious until I want to watch TV or be on a live stream or call family that live on the East Coast, and most TV shows I watch nowadays are on streaming services. So it's not like, like when I was, 10 years ago or more, like when you'd either have to record it, especially if it fell at that prime time when you're like, not sure if you're going to be off work yet or not. But now with the streaming services, it really doesn't affect quite as much.
This is true. You can catch everything on whatever channel. Every channel has an app. Wait 24 hours, you can watch it on the app for free.
Yep.
That's how I catch all my CW superhero shows.
Well, and then when you're busy and you're doing all these things and you're, and you don't know what your schedule is, if it's up and down all around, it's nice to be able to be like, it's okay. Like when I have time off, like it's going to be there.
Absolutely. All right. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for popping in tonight. We don't have a show without you. Do check out the link. It's been sitting up there at the top of the chat all this time pinned. It's also right below this video if you're catching the replay. Takes you to Kickstarter, Wolf and I, Tides of Truth. Click the button. Click the big green button that says back to the project. Remember your credit card, probably stored in your browser already. Just pick one of them. Throw some money at it. Don't even count it. Just pick a tier. You're going to get something to read. You're going to like it. And with that, everybody, we just hope that, as always, while you were here, you had a blast. Good night.